Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat with you guys about a new law I just saw in the IPF, which is the International Powerlifting Federation. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Alright guys, apparently the IPF has changed their 2-year ban to a 3-year ban. Talk about pretentiousness. This is an organization, yeah, I know is technically the biggest powerlifting federation in the world, but it is hurting itself historically, and a lot of it has to do with, instead of actually focusing on what the lifters want and making the lifters happy, it focuses on silly stuff like this of trying to make itself elite. And you find the attitude of the guys who compete in the IPF, some of them really follows this elitist culture that they have created. And it really is. The IPF has really made its defining goal to get powerlifting into the Olympics instead of focusing on the lifters. I mean, powerlifting has always been a grassroots sport. It is probably not going to become an Olympic sport. They're going to keep trying. There are potential problems with that. Some people would argue, well, we already have weightlifting in the Olympics. We don't necessarily need powerlifting. Just some of the equipment and the judging, and they tried to basically bring it down to minimize the equipment used. That's why they limit the racks and everything. And I would almost say if they really even wanted to have any chance of that, they probably need to get rid of equipped lifting completely and go to just all raw. But the problem they have is that they have created divisiveness. It's like they have this idea that they think that in the long term they're going to unify powerlifting, and in some countries they would. If it becomes a Olympic sport, it could in some countries, because of their rules and stuff, actually eliminate the grassroots stuff. It might not allow for there to be a grassroots version anymore, in which case they would unify it. But outside of that, they create divisiveness with this. Now, people are going to say, Jason, this isn't really a fitness topic. Well, it sort of is. It's because this is a sport that I like. It's a sport I participate in. It's a sport I've competed in, refereed in, everything else. And so I'm going to go ahead and cover it on here because it's somewhat relevant, just like when I poke fun of bodybuilding, even though we know bodybuilding is not fitness in any shape, form, or fashion. But this is me taking a poke at one of my sports. But the problem you have is, again, the way that they treat their lifters. This kind of just adds to it. This stuff just makes it harder for them to recruit people because, you know, if they really wanted to unify powerlifting, they would be trying to find ways to get people from other federations to join them to unify it under their rules. But instead, all they really have is their being elite, their pretentiousness, everything else is their actual recruiting tool, because their meets are boring. They do not allow the same behavior and activity and the music and everything else that you see at most powerlifting meets, right? They don't allow any of that. I mean, most powerlifting meets, you go to them, it's almost like a concert. You know, everyone's cheering and screaming, and they've got music playing and DJs. And the IPF, it's almost like watching a golf tournament. It's extremely boring in comparison. And yeah, I've been to some pretty good size IPF meets personally. And I mean, I know when I lived in the UK, I'm personal friends with some of the family who run the IPF in the United Kingdom. Like, I know them personally, I'm friends with them. So, you know, I mean, I actually know the people who run it in that country. And what I also noticed is that a lot of lifters I knew in the UK who had competed with that moved over to other federations like the WPC, even guys who didn't use drugs. And I know at least one guy who continued to use drugs who stayed in the IPF. That's what he competes in. That's what he enjoys. And he's, you know, figured out how to use just a little bit of stuff and still cheat on his drug tests. You know, he's figured it out, and he stayed in. But I know guys who are completely clean who walked away from the IPF, who had never used anabolics, don't even want to, and still have gone and competed in untested powerlifting because it's just more fun, and they don't like the BS and the pretentiousness. They don't like it. And this is a perfect example. I mean, to stand there and create a rule, where, and people need to realize how serious this rule is for them, and that they actually enforce this stuff. To create a rule that says if you participate, doesn't even say, it says compete or participate. That participate's a big word. In any powerlifting meet, whether it's regional, national, international, powerlifting meet, or even a bench press contest, it is not sanctioned by the IPF. You have a 3-year ban. You have a 3-year ban on competing there. And that was kind of funny because I brought that up during all my lawsuit stuff with Norton, with his lawyers. I sent them that. They were trying to claim, because what they had told me in that lawsuit, it's like, well, only what happens in the UK matters. What happens in the US is completely irrelevant to British law, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, and our guy's a natural. I'm like, but he's banned from competing in the IPF here. Your client, you're calling him a drug-free power lifter. It's in the thing. It's like, but he is banned from competition in the IPF here, the biggest drug-tested federation, drug-free as they call it, but I'll call it drug-tested federation in the entire country that holds 90% of the meets that would be drug-tested. He is banned from participating in because he won an untested powerlifting meet less than 2 years ago. It's right here. Look at this one that he won. He won it. That bans him from even being a guest lifter. He can't even compete. He can't even attend and compete one of these powerlifting meets. It's against their rules. And they tried to argue that it wasn't, but it's like the bylaws are right there. And it's funny because I went and asked the people who run it, and they had said, yeah, he wouldn't be allowed to show up and compete at one of our meets. He would be banned. So, that's the interesting thing. So what this basically means, guys, is that if you are caught participating in another powerlifting meet, and participation is a broad term, and yes, they do apply it broadly, because I know these people, I know this organization. They apply this very, very broadly. In other words, if you're seen on camera attending and cheering, or you go to a powerlifting meet in which you're just the coach for someone who's lifting there, so if one of your lifters competes at a non-IPF meet, not even a non-tested meet now, it used to be any untested powerlifting meet. Now they've changed it to any, if you go to an untested bench press contest, you have an athlete and you're a coach, and he goes to a non-drug tested, just a regular old bench press contest, not even sanctioned by anybody, and you are caught coaching him at the event, not even being an actual competitor, you are banned from the IPF for 3 years. Because you have an athlete who wanted to go do a local bench press contest. A local bench press contest at a local high school or church that was filmed and put and advertised online as a bench press contest. And you coach your athlete who wants to go to this. You have now participated in a non-IPF sanctioned event. You would be banned. You would be banned from the IPF for 3 years. It means you wouldn't be able to compete in the IPF. You wouldn't be able to be a spotter at the IPF. You couldn't be a referee at the IPF. You are banned for 36 months, for 3 years, for participation in your local church bench press contest if it was a big deal that was advertised and you got caught coaching one of your guys there. You can't be associated with that event in any way. I mean, talk about pretentiousness. Talk about elitism. That is technically what their laws say, and if you guys don't think they enforce it, they do. And it's because their stance is that we are the only powerlifting meet that matters, and people who don't take us seriously is the only one, and anyone who's even associates with known anabolic users can be banned purely for their association with them. And it's funny, I used to joke about this on my channel, and I've had other lifters kind of mention to me online that they've gone and done some of their meets on social media. Some other guys, even some guys you guys have seen on YouTube and stuff out there, have told me, man, I went and checked them out, and I went and did some of their stuff, and you were right. Wow, they are pretentious, elitist to the point of the extreme. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous to be this way over such a grassroots sport like powerlifting. And they treat people this way because it's all to them about we want to be in the Olympics. And they don't care about the lifters, And like I said, they don't care about the lifters. They don't care about making it an enjoyable sport to attend. They don't really care about growing the sport in that way. For them, it's all about making it an Olympic sport. And the reality is that's not how most people see the sport of powerlifting. Most people who see it, it's a fun, grassroots, fun-loving sport. And it's just fun to attend. They're fun to compete in. the way that they're done by most federations, and they just do the complete opposite. And I think it's really going to be a big problem for them more in America, and I think that's their biggest problem here, is that trying to push that here, it really doesn't work with the culture as well, because you've seen guys like Feigenbaum say powerlifting is essentially in the U.S. a sport for NASCAR-loving rednecks. And he's right. It is in a lot of ways. It really is. Look at who the largest number of competitors are in powerlifting and the fans and things. And it's funny as that sounds, there's a certain element of truth to that. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.